Yeah, I mean, with their tax liabilities, I mean, Q2 is usually the quarter where they pay double.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking in to our latest Traded Black podcast. Earnings is underway. Verano and Cronos releasing their latest earnings, so we'll dive right into it as we have a busy week of the biggest players in the space giving all their earnings reports for Q2. So, gents, we welcome you in. Benjamin A. Smith, lead financial writer. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you guys.
Anthony Verrill, good to see you. How are things?
Good to see you. How's it going?
Good. As I said off the top, earnings season has begun with Verano and Cronos. Before we get into that, interesting announcement yesterday regarding Tilray, who purchased 8 beverage brands from Anheuser Busch. And so far in the market on Tuesday, the market is liking it at the time that we're recording this, up 20%. But we'll begin with you, Anthony. What did you think of this announcement and the move that Tilray has just made?
I don't hate it. I mean, this, according to the press release, I mean, this brings Tilray's acquired alcohol portfolio to an annual run rate of about 300 million in revenue.
Is it that much?
That's nothing to scoff at. It's immediately accretive. They're getting the assets that are involved in this, with all of these associated brands as well, from brew pubs to distro to manufacturing. I'm a fan of this. I mean, I don't think that it is going to be impactful in the short term, but I think that Irwin is actually building a company for the future of what the legal framework is going to look like and what cannabis is going to look like. Alcohol built the footprint for distributing a vice product in a heavily regulated industry. Granted, I don't think that we're anywhere near interstate commerce, but I would argue that if you're looking forward, the blueprint that Irwin's building with a alcohol first infrastructure in the States, backfilling it with cannabis when the time is right. Canopy's probably going to do the same thing with Constellation, but that's a whole other story. But I mean, I like this. I'm not a Tilray shareholder. Stock's obviously taking it very well. It's up 20% today, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Yeah, that's for sure. Another step in the right direction as far as entering the U.S. market when time presents itself, right, Ben?
Yeah, I think so. And I would echo Anthony's statements. I like it insofar as that I think it segues pretty well into the cannabis industry when it's allowed to fully come to fruition. Tilray is almost like an alcohol beverage maker just as much as cannabis right now.
I know.
But there's very good synergies between the two, I think, when the time is right. And there are no really cannabis big cannabis brands, and they're building out what it should be in the future. So it's very synergistic here. um you know Alcohol trends are trending down in terms of overall sales and things like that. So on a standalone basis, I'm not loving it in terms of the potential revenue profile for this, but because it segues so good into their the cannabis business in the long term, I think looking out 5 years or whatever, 10 years, I think this is a good building block, so to speak.
What do you guys think the beverage industry will look like in 5 years if that's what they're planning out? Any guess?
I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think beverage is going to be the largest cannabis product vertical
You do.
of the future. Yeah. I mean, if you want to look big picture, and I mean, I don't look at this industry as like a small picture from a small picture perspective.
Yeah.
Where this is going, when I go to a Heat game, when I go to a Dolphin game, when you go to a concert, there are going to be cannabis products on these properties.
Agreed.
They're not going to be smokables.
Yeah.
They're not going to be selling flour at a concession stand. You're going to be able to go there. You're going to be able to get a 5 milligram, 10 milligram THC beverage that is going to be able to be consumed, that's going to be able to be dosed, and you're going to be able to use that and consume it exactly like you would an alcohol product.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're anywhere, like I said, time horizon wise, that might be 8 to 10 years out. But the end game for this industry is consumer products, consumer facing products that are at the point of sale from a recreational perspective. And that is going to be beverage.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I see it.
Good point.
Yeah, I agree. Especially your good point about the venues too. Like I could foresee this in say 10 years or somewhere down the line being like available at like sporting events or a concerts and things like that, right?
Yep.
Because you're not going to smoke flower in these sort of venues, right? So I think over time we can already see the stats according to BDS and a few other analytic companies. The drinks are trending up, and I myself got a good view of this last year when I went with Shad to the Benzinga conference in Chicago. I had a beverage at one of the events that they're hosting, and that was the first time I actually had that, and it was really good. It was an eye opener.
Yeah.
Like it provided a very, very good experience. And
I mean, people
I
that
had
say,
been,
yeah,
yeah, I'd been
good.
only vaped or the occasional joint or whatever when I do it. I'm not a everyday user, but it was really eye opening, and it really made that event very, very pleasurable. And I think that the trends are up with beverages, and that's what Tilray's positioning for, obviously.
Yep.
And speak about events. What's the event in Georgia again that they took part in with that one brand? What's it called?
Sweetwater.
Sweetwater
Sweetwater.
Brewery.
Sweetwater.
Yeah. And what's the event there in Georgia?
I don't know off the top of my. I'd have to
There's
guess it's a NASCAR or some sort of country music
no, no,
event.
no, no.
If
It's
it's in
related
Georgia.
to It's related to 420. Anyway, leave a comment below.
Oh,
I know some of you
yeah, I'm
people
not
will
sure.
know this, but that in itself is a huge. I'm sure they'll amplify that event in due time once it's federally legalized. But
Yeah.
I like the approach. I really do, because I think beverages, gummies, that sort of thing has advanced so quickly, and the way it's kind of viewed in society now, when people are having a good time, I almost find it's further ahead than that taboo image of smoking in like the traditional joint. And it
Yeah.
goes to show where things are going to be headed. And I don't think it's going to take 10 years. You're already seeing a vast growth perception of people. And like you said earlier this week, alcohol consumption is obviously trending way down. Okay, let's dive in to latest earnings. Verano and Cronos, first one's up. So let's dive into Verano. Some of the highlights included $230 million for the quarter, which is a record quarter, and up 5% for the year. Gross profit of $115 million, or 49% of revenue. Adjusted EBITDA of $72 million. And operationally, they're now sitting at 70 stores in Florida. Ben, good report. I really am starting to like what this company's doing.
Yeah, I like the report overall. I think it's very. I think they did well in these conditions, especially. As you said, the revenue profile. It's always good to see that go up sequentially, and it did 5% year over year, 3% sequentially over the quarter. Now, I look at I view this as really a holding ground type of report. Their free cash flow went up, which was very good to see, from 16 million to 8. Their net loss went up a little bit as well, from 9 million to 13 million. So that's not what you want to see. But overall, I think the core metrics here look good. Revenue's increasing, free cash flow is increasing. And that's the thing that the big takeaway that investors have to take away.
Yeah. I mentioned Florida, but also important to note, Anthony, that their market share in New Jersey is up over 21%, are not up, but is at
Yeah.
21%. So they're not just doing it in the state of Florida that they're notoriously known for, in the state of Illinois, but New Jersey seems to be a flourishing market for them as well.
Yeah. I mean, I would expect in the coming quarters you're going to start to see a pretty large bolstering of the numbers that's going to be attributed to the jurisdictions of New Jersey and Maryland. I mean, New Jersey, they're above 21%. They're the dominant player in the space. Maryland is going gangbusters since adult use has come online. And they could also be a recipient of Pennsylvania if Pennsylvania ever gets their act together and decides to go adult use. They've got 17 stores in that state now. I mean, Verano's positioned in a lot of keystone markets. They're positioned in some really, really good markets in the Midwest corridor and in the East Coast. And I mean, they're positioned in markets that are poised to grow. More importantly, so I mean, I think that this is it's a good quarter. I mean, it was a little bit muted from a numbers perspective with, I mean, the double tax payment that they get hit with in this quarter. So I mean, from a free cash flow and EBITDA standpoint, I mean, I think we should probably be looking ahead to next quarter, see what those numbers look like with the continued growth from New Jersey and Maryland added to the balance sheet going into Q3.
Can you roll that back with our viewers when they get double taxed, why that is and what it means?
Yeah, I mean, with their tax liabilities, I mean, Q2 is usually the quarter where they pay double. I think that I forget the tax liability that they had said on on the call, but I think they owe somewhere to the neighborhood of like 213 million in taxes. Don't quote me on that. I might need to justify that number, but yeah, it's sizable. And I mean, we saw it with Maramed. We're seeing it with Verano. We'll probably see it with GTI after the bell today. And I mean, it's just a function of the way these companies have to pay tax. The good thing is they're starting to be able to mitigate 280E in certain jurisdictions. I'm pretty sure they're doing it right now or curtailing it to a degree in Connecticut, New Jersey, and then there was a third market. But companies are starting to figure out workarounds with safe stalling on how to improve their balance sheets
Okay,
moving
just to
forward.
provide further color, I think Verano was one of those companies that was withholding the 280E tax payments because the penalty on them was not very punitive in terms of interest that they had to pay on that. So they're using it for other purposes. So it sounds to me like they were probably catching up on some of those back
Uh,
tax payments that they were using before.
Yeah.
I wasn't on the call, I didn't listen to the call, but that's I know Verano was kind of withholding those tax payments for a while because the cost to carry those future payments was not very high, so they used it for other purposes.
which makes sense.
Yeah, and they also talked about not coming to terms, but starting to get the conversation going with Chicago Atlantic on restructuring some of their debt that's carrying double-digit coupons, which was good because the debt was brought up on the call as well.
Yeah, some of their debt I think is more long dated, 2004.
It is
2026 and beyond.
26. Yeah,
Yeah, so that'd be good if they can renegotiate a better rate. That would definitely
Yeah.
help.
Seems like every podcast. Does it surprise you guys at all? Just the sales that's being generated of the state of Maryland seems like terracent. I'm just it's booming, right?
it's adult use. I mean, it's adult use. The Maryland's surrounded by states that are very close jurisdictions that are illegal to just pure medical markets.
Yeah.
And they're going to be a recipient of that for the coming quarters.
It's a
You
popular
sent me
product.
last.
They love it.
Yeah.
People love it,
Yeah.
and they yeah. There's some states that they also get some flow through that are not fully recreational right now, like
Yeah.
Virginia and so forth. So yeah, good for them. Sales are really really booming. I think the run rate is close to $1 billion. So that's pretty good in a state like Maryland, which doesn't have a huge population compared to other states.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't want to call it an outlier, but it might be an outlier. But it's just keep running it until the well runs dry. Just keep the companies that are printing right now.
yeah. Well, don't look now, but the state of Michigan is back. Did you see the latest numbers pertaining to the eastern
It was
markets?
260 million for the month of July.
260 million. Florida was 218, but again, rec is obviously legal in Michigan. But outside of California right now, Michigan's producing second in the country at 260 million. Other
It's another
notable
state.
numbers: 218
Another
Florida, 163 Illinois, 151 Massachusetts, 98 in Pennsylvania. Maryland had 42.7.
It's I think it's Michigan's a function of another state that's surrounded by states that are not recreational use.
Yeah.
But it's
Wisconsin.
260. Yeah, 260. I was really surprised to see that number.
Indiana.
Hope Michigan needs to come back. Michigan, that's what I'm looking forward to with the TerraSend earnings report.
Yeah.
How Michigan's coming back in that market because Gage is the big player in Michigan right now.
Yeah. 390 in California, 130 in Colorado. So a big month. That is big.
I was surprised by the 130 in Colorado.
Me too. Definitely.
Like I was really surprised, which I don't know if it's a function of a lot of people are home growing.
That's what I'm
the black
thinking.
market is still market is
There's
just
got to be a lot of homegrown weed in Colorado. I could be wrong.
No, there is.
Let's now shift to Cronos. I'm not sure if there's much to touch on here other than the fact they got $841 million in the bank. So that begs like only 18 million in the quarter. But one can ask, what does Cronos do with their 841 million in the bank, Anthony?
I don't know, man. This is kind of just it's like a running joke now with their cash position. I mean, just do what Michael Saylor did with MicroStrategy. Take your treasury, put it in Bitcoin, and let it just sit there because it's not gaining anything being in cash. It's starting to become a disservice to investors where it's like these guys are just drawing salaries and just floating because
Well said.
their operations and their cannabis businesses are creating fuck all in revenue on a quarterly basis, and they're not doing anything. I mean,
Yeah.
they're a zombie. They're a zombie with a large cash position, and a good partner in Altria.
Not much here, has there been?
No, not much. Revenues declined. There's nothing really exciting about the report, and I agree wholeheartedly that they should do something with the cash, because when you're just sitting on cash, it's not returning. There's no ROI on that. It's just
No,
sort of like a zombie shell company. So they got to put that cash to work at some point. We keep hearing that acquisitions, that they may want to be acquired for that cash position or whatever, but I don't know if that makes sense either. So I really don't know what this company, what direction they're going to go. I think they're good. If I had to guess, I think they're going to try to get acquired, because they do have some interesting pieces, and they have the spinach brand, they have Israeli assets, they can get their
Yeah.
cannabis into the EU. So there is something there. It just, when you look at their sales and you look at it over quarter, going back, 7-8 quarters, there's just nothing that, like, there's no viable business there that's ever going to be
Yeah.
profitable. So they got to do
no.
something. And you can't just sit on a cash hoard forever if you're not, like, invested in something. Like, I don't know, I don't know, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin route is the way to go, but they got to do something with
No.
that, because it's just sitting there,
Yeah.
and they're just drawing down the treasury over time, and there's just no pathway to profitability or free cash flow here.
Bitcoin
Yeah, I mean,
gave the answer.
if you think about the decay in value in this environment, with the way inflation is, on an $800 million plus cash position, that is a disservice to investors.
Yes, you're
Mhm.
losing.
I mean,
Now,
that is a big number.
according to CPI, and I don't believe CPI, because
No,
it's definitely a lot of adjustments over the years that have sort of minimized the impact, but they're losing, what, 3% year over year now that inflation's come
probably.
way down, but they're probably losing at least double that, or
I was going to say
whatever,
it's
just
probably
sitting
closer
on
to six or
cash.
seven,
Yeah, at
six,
least.
six, 6 or 7. And I mean, 840 mil. You're looking at what? That's $60 million annually
Yep. If
at a
if it's
7%.
just sitting there and whatever. Now they're probably earning some, like, short term investments, I'm assuming, or they put it in, like,
Yeah,
GICs or whatever they do with it. They don't,
Yeah.
yeah.
but still,
So
not
if
a
you're
good way
CF,
to. Yeah.
yeah, no
Boris, by
kidding.
the way, was on a podcast yesterday that came out, and he dispelled all rumors about Cronos. Said
Did he?
there is nothing there. Yeah, there is nothing there. We're not exploring anything. That was simply a rumor that got
Huh.
turbocharged around Twitter.
Interesting.
No, that
Yeah,
was a rumor. Well, that came out. It wasn't even a Twitter rumor. That was a
yeah.
Reuters rumor. It came out from a
Got it.
Reuters,
Got it.
a source. So it looks more and more like that was some sort of source that they put out there, and somebody knows somebody from, a big media, and they put out a source to get some exit liquidity because they want to, lessen their position or something like that. It's not a real
Yeah.
rumor, and it looks more and more like that was one of those, like, what we call a pump rumor. But we'll see.
Indeed. All right, gents, that covers off Verano and Cronos. We don't have to keep this too long today, but what do we got up to tomorrow? We have
We got Curaleaf and Ascend after the bell today,
And
and then
GTI, don't we?
GTI as well.
not Curaleaf.
Not Curaleaf.
Curaleaf is later in the week. GTI is
GTI
today after the
Ascend,
bell.
and then what? True Leaves tomorrow morning before the bell, correct?
True Leaf is tomorrow morning.
And GTI and Ascend are after the market today. So we will do another
Yes.
podcast tomorrow morning and have that out Wednesday afternoon and take a dive into those numbers. But appreciate the update, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Talk to you guys.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. So what'd you think of the interview? Did you like what we asked? Is there any information you want to learn more of? Then leave a comment below and let us know what you think. As usual, share this video with your network, smash that like button, and most importantly, make sure to subscribe to our channel because we would not be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.